Hi guys, welcome to Rootstem, and in this video we're going to look at a possible alternative to playing 40k online against your favourite opponents. Now many of you may have seen something called Tabletop Simulator. This is something I'm actually going to look into on this video for those of us that love to play 40k but are currently stuck at home. I got introduced to this by one of my friends, Ben. He's a guy that's appeared on a channel a few times, and he basically pointed it out as an alternative for us to be able to play games at home. We're pretty much all stuck inside. We're all painting like mad. I've currently got 50 odd Gene Stealer cult members on the go as we speak, as I'm doing this. And we wanted to know if we could actually try and get some games in. So Ben's had a look and he's come across Tabletop Simulator, and I think this weekend it's actually half price, so it's about £7 to £8 British, which is a good thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick look at it for us. Excuse the hair, Christ. And we're going to see whether or not it's worth giving it a go. So, as you can see, I've got Tabletop Simulator already loaded. I purchased it the other day from Steam, which is quite an easy process of actually purchasing. Everybody knows how to purchase it off Steam. But one other reason I purchased it off Steam is, according to a lot of the community, it's the best place to be able to get a lot of your mods from. So, I'm going to show you how to bring some of the mods in. You don't really have to purchase anything else once you've got the Tabletop Simulator. Unfortunately, you do have this in the bottom left hand corner, and I'm like, what? Cool. Right, so the best way of starting off loading things in is to go to Create, Single Player, and then you go to Workshop. Now this will actually bring you into like a menu. As you can see, I've already downloaded some stuff. I'm already looking into some stuff. But this is the best way of getting the mods added onto your account. Now be aware, I don't think Workshop definitely don't license this. A lot of this is independent modders, so sometimes your assets will disappear. So it's always the best to keep an eye out for multiple versions of the same thing if you can, possibly in different files. If you click Browse, this will bring up the Workshop for Tabletop Simulator. So what we can do in here, if we just type Warhammer 40k and search, it will bring, there we go, it'll bring all sorts of different things for you to add onto your account. Now that is a subscribe button, and of course you get it on a bigger version as well. When you subscribe to the accounts, that's when you get access to the various different elements that you can actually use in this. So as an example, if we click on, there was one that I was actually looking for because it's quite a nice easy way of setting it up. I think it's that one there, which I've not downloaded. But this is a Warhammer 40k full setup. If you can find something like this, it basically just gives you everything. So what it does, it gives you a clean empty table, a bunch of assets at the side to make your own table, and on the table itself it's got the lines to show you where you can and can't set up, and space to be able to put your armies and your army cards, which I'll be able to show you in a moment. So let's subscribe that to my account. That's now been added. If we go on here, it's got a question mark. Hopefully it loads properly. So to load up the map, the best thing to do is to go into your maps first, load up your maps and have a look at your assets. Now there will sometimes be issues and bits may be missing. You'll get this slot here, as you can see, that's telling you that something is wrong. The best thing to do is just to click off it, and if it's really bad, then just ignore and get rid of the actual map. But if you can see here, this has actually got all the different styles of deployment, including the cleanse, or as I call it, old school search and destroy. You've got the vertical line, so it's pretty much, and of course you've got Dawn of War. That's pretty much a really cool way of making sure that you know, everything's going to be deployed. In the corner, when I get used to these goddamn controls, in the corner you've got assets to be able to make your own terrain. Now there is some people out there will actually make the terrain for you. There's some, not for you, there is some people out there that's got the terrain features done and dusted, and they've actually created really good looking maps. But the issues I find with them is that sometimes they don't necessarily load properly. They're not always in there, and you can see here is all of different missions and asset cards, including your core rules. Now, if you do have to bear with me with my markers, simply because markers 1 to 6. And it's even got some of the cards up here as well. It's probably what's failed to load. Look, Virginia Steel Coat ones, typical. Now, the controls are not easy. It's not simply a case of clicking your left mouse button and moving, because that brings up a selector icon. It's you're kind of like in a first-person shooter. So at that, I'm using the left and right turns. That's S, that's W, that's D, that's A. So it's your old school forward, back, and left and right strafing. And then, of course, the arrow keys are what's creating the plane. This can be a little bit annoying when it comes to, especially if you're used to real-time strategies and you're used to being able to right-click and drag. If you right-click, it just kind of pans it about. It doesn't really drag it. I also recommend that when you do start using this, have a mess about with it first. Go into configuration and set up the controls for yourself, because I set up the plus and minus as an alternative for zooming in. I mainly use my gaming laptop, and because of that, I like to have, rather than using the mouse wheel, sometimes I find that some games don't react to it properly, I'll prefer to use the plus and minus signs on my on my keyboard, sorry, just to be able to zoom in and zoom out. Now, all of this here is your gaming table. Pretty straightforward, pretty standard. If you're wanting to set terrain up, you just simply have to select it, and it picks it, your little mouse pointer picks it up, and it lets you come and drop it anywhere you need to. Now, you can, as an alternative, we'll just put that back. If you hover over an item and copy, Control-C, you can then paste the item into your board. This might be a great way to try and create, you know, interesting setups. Be aware that it will stack and it will tumble over, just like real terrain. If you grab hold of it, normally, it does rectify itself, as I've found, eventually. Maybe, maybe not. There we go, F for flip. There we are. So if you zoomed in here, and I'm wanting that piece of terrain to try and fit, you can use Q and E to be able to rotate. And there is a quick way of using your mouse to be able to move around on this. If you press and hold R and then move your mouse, it allows you to move. And it's kind of like a moonscape, but it allows us to be able to pretty much do whatever we want. So if we put some woods about, start to look like the terrain and put club. Like I say, you can get hold of some boards. This one's a really good way if you like making up your own terrain setup, and that clock is accurate. we go, look. Put some burial ruins down here. Anyway, you'd have a setup. That's fantastic. That's how you'd set up sort of a board, unless you're getting a purpose-built one. If you are getting a purpose-built one, watch out, because some of the purpose-built ones don't come with these assets. But I'll be honest, when you're playing the game, you're effectively just going to be rolling dice, and you're going to be just rolling dice and looking up your own rule books. Anyway, you are going to need to communicate. This is not a real-time strategy. None of this is going to be doing it for you. You're going to need dice. This particular board does come with dice, which is pretty cool. They're in here, so if you just grab one, there we are. There's a single dice. Grab a couple. And if you select them, you just press your left mouse button, give them a shake, we can throw them across the table. Now the problem is with doing this, it even tells you your result, look. The problem is with doing this is that you can smash these into terrain pieces. As you see from that one there, it moved it. You're not wanting to move your own terrain pieces. So if you just shift these dice out of the way, and put this back, you can lock in your terrain. So if we actually highlight all of this, and in the options, locking in an asset, is you just simply press L, I believe, and now you can't select it. If we did want to select it again, I think we have to press no. Once it's locked in, I don't really know how to unlock it, but once you've got your terrain set up, I'll be honest with you, you'll probably not need to change your actual terrain. And then if we get some of these dice again, as you can see, it doesn't move. This is good for when you are bringing in armies, and it's good for when you're bringing in when you're rolling your dice and you're not quite sure where they're going to go. As you can see, if I do that now, all I'm doing is picking up dice. I'm not picking up anything else, just dice. There is an alternative way of actually rolling them. If you press R, it throws them up in the air. And that's if you're not wanting them to scatter about too much. R's called rise. So you just do it. There we are. And it gives you a nice random roll. Now, of course, if you're going to be playing 40k, we're going to need figures. And in your object file, if we go, is it objects or is it no, I think it's games. If you go back into your workshop, you can see I've got a section here that says armies. What I've done, I've actually brought in a couple of different armies. I've downloaded a Chaos Space Marine army, and I've downloaded or subscribed to an Elder army list. Now, when you do load these up, it will delete what you're doing, and I'm going to show you a way to make your force, save it, and then bring it into your tabletop. So you're probably best off making a couple of different army lists for this, and then bringing them in when you're playing a game. So let's load the Chaos Space Marine one. So I'm just going to wait for all the assets to load in. The PC is not bad, so of course. And as you can see, we've got some assets. So we've got stuff like a Chaos Dreadnought with a large cannon, Chaos Dreadnought with 2 close combat, Chaos Dreadnought with autocannon, Chaos Dreadnought with multi-melter. Not everything's in here. We've got cultists, we've got chosen with different weapons, renegades, possessed, terminators, and of course you've got obliterators and your normal guys, your normal champions. Over here you've got your alternatives. So you've got your Plague Marines, your Chaos Marines, and you've got your Chaos Bikers. This is an Iron Warriors army that I just downloaded. But some armies you will be able to find. Some armies are going to be difficult, so you're going to have a problem trying to find some armies in total. If you can't find the army, what I recommend to do, some people have like made their own custom chapter. It might be blue. Your Space Marines might be Crimson Fists or Ultramarines. You'll be blue. Just download it and do that. Not all the weapons are either included in here. For example, there is no, I think it's one of the new chain cannons. So I'd probably just use auto cannons and just say to my opponent that my auto cannons are chain cannons in this particular game. You're not going to have everything. So it is going to be WYSIWYG. I do think is probably going to be out the window. As long as someone's not being a tool though, you should be okay. Now if you're making the army, the best thing for you to do, I'm just going to move these out of the way. There we go. Oh, they're falling over, but it doesn't matter. I'm not bothered. Is create a space so you can put your army out. Now, I've already done this already, but I'm just going to show you. So I did an army in Battle Scribe, but for example, if you wanted a Chaos Lord with Lightning Claws, I recommend you do a copy and paste. Go on, we'll have a couple of obliterators in there as well. Let's get, so I'm wanting a Chaos Bike Squad, one with Plasma, and then 2 normal. So it's like you're putting your models out and you're putting your models together. And then I'll have a Dreadnought with a las cannon. So, and say we wanted that as the army. I know it's not really a good army, but you wanted to save that. It might be a kill team that you're setting up. If you select all of the assets, why I said you needed a space. So if you put all the stuff that's actually going to be part of the force here, and you right click on one of them, you can save object, save it as testing, or whatever army you wanted to put down. You click save, and if you go into objects and saved objects, it will be there. As you can see, I've already created 2 1,000 points Chaos and 1,000 points Eldar. We're going to be looking at getting those on the table. So if I go back to games, this is how you load up your maps. Let's go back to that full setup. In fact, let's have a look at one of these ones here. Tau Forest. This one's loaded up pretty quickly, and this one's quite special. Look, someone's actually put some assets down. That's a bit of fog, although as you can see, some of the shaders it's saying didn't load properly. So what I'm wanting to do is to import an army. Now, this will be player 1, probably going to where the force is going to go, and I believe if you go outside of this, it just falls into obscurity. So what you have to do is go to objects, saved objects, and we'll bring in the Chaos Marines. Now it will load them in. I believe it loads them in like smack in the centre of these tables. I'm hoping. Into obscurity. This might not have been the greatest map to try this on. Let's start again, shall we? So I've loaded us back into this one. I was trying to show you a fancier screen, it didn't work. And I'll have to make a table again, but we're just going to load up our Chaos Army. There we are. People are down, some have fallen over, doesn't really matter. So this is going to be my 1,000 points of Chaos. I'll grab the Rhino, which will grab everybody else. I'm going to put it down here. So you see we've got like a couple of Space Marine squads, a couple of Obliterators, we've got a Sorcerer, Chaos Lord, a Claw and a Melter, some Plague, Chaos Plague Marines, some Cultists, and a Rhino. Just a simple little army, and that's the best way of trying to bring your forces in, because if you do it, if you load the if you load, I think if you load the armies, they're actually loading into a separate screen. I'm not wanting to do that, because if I do that, then it's going to be a pain in my backside. And what I'm going to do is just to swing the table round. I'm going to load in the Elder army. Two more assets to load, which will be the sentry guns. There you are. So I've got my Elder Force. So let's come out of our Fire Prism and put that down here. So as you can see, we've got two armies ready and waiting. Now what I would suggest, if you are playing on this, you wouldn't need a lot of WYSIWYG, like I said before, needs to kind of go out the window. And what you will probably need to do as well would be to make it, facing would not matter. I suppose maybe facing might matter in kill team, but or like if you're playing some form of Necromunda on this. But you're gonna have to make concessions for certain things in this game, because it's just not going to be possible. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to blink away. I'm going to make a table. I'm going to put some forces down. I'm going to show you kind of what it looks like. Right guys, I'm back. I have made a table. Hey! I put the terrain down, locked it in to make sure that it didn't move. I've just used this erase tool to erase the lines on the actual board, and it actually tells you to do that down here. Use the erase tool to get rid of any undesired deployment lines. So you could actually do that before you deployed. I did the Vanguard strike. And as you can see, we've got some assets that are on top of the actual bunker building, some below. There's a squad back there because they're in the Rhino. Pretty much what you would do if you went down to your local club. Now, I actually do have an extra Guardian Defender here, and I need to make you aware of something. Just be very careful when moving units. Units themselves can be flicked. As you can see there, I accidentally smacked into that Chaos Rhino. And can we do it? Oh, it's not letting us. Oh, it's so cool. Flick, pew. But yes, they can be flicked about, which is never a good thing. Put you back. I'll try and put you back as best as I can. There we are. Doesn't matter. The rest of the terrain, as you can see, has been locked down, and any recommendations I would actually state is when you setting your army up, try and in like this section here, lay your guys out on how you're going to want the squad to kind of appear on the battlefield. So alright, okay, I'm gonna, because it's a lot easier to do it when there's no terrain around. So if we set all these guys up, and then we're like, yeah, they're not actually facing the way I want them to face. If you select them all, and then use E or Q, you can rotate them in place. If you mouse click and E and Q, you can rotate them on an axis point. I don't need them at the moment, so I'm just going to drop them. Now, a lot of you are going to be saying, measurements. Yes, measurements are important. This line tool here will give you measurements. And I'll be honest, a lot of this works best on a top-down view. Now if I was to put that there in front, as you can see, that will be 31 inches between those models, so neither of them will be able to then shoot. The line disappears as soon as you've let go of the mouse, so trying to do movement might be a little difficult. Now there is a tip. If you wanted to do movement, if you press and hold the mouse button, this is where my dexterity skills come in on my PC. I've got a hold of him. If I press and hold tab, I can then move him the desired 6 inch. Now, you need to let go of tab first before dropping the marine. As you can see, he kind of fell back a little there. But that's because if you don't do it the other way around, you're going to be stuck on the tab. You're going to be stuck on the ruler permanently. So if we just put him back, what I'll do is just show you how you would kind of play the game with your opponent. So, oh, there we go. I'm still getting used to these controls. So I've got a dice here. I've got several dice out. So this is one. And this is for the chaos side. So what I'm going to do is to press the R. I'm going to do it a couple of times. And we get a 2. So if you hover over, if you've got several selected and you hover over, it tells you all the results. But if you hover over, they've got a 2. So if we go over to the elder side, grab their dice and launch it in the air. You get a 1. So it would be chaos to go first. So that's when you just do your normal turn. You'd look at your units and assets. You're like, right, okay, I'm wanting this chaos squad here. Let's see about moving them. But what I would recommend is having a look, going, right, well, I could probably move this slot, no problem. This slot I might need to clump or grab separately. So then you grab your chaos guys and you move them 6 inches to there. Grab tool again. And I think one of the guys was flying around. Yes, he was. And you can just move up. Yeah, just move up a little bit there. And he's still on top of somebody's head. There we are. So you can see that this is going to be a little bit awkward, especially when you first start doing it. It's not going to be the greatest. It's not a real-time strategy. It's going to be plagued, unfortunately, I believe, with problems for yourself. So to me, you need to make sure that you are playing with someone that you can trust. Because I've got a funny feeling a lot of arguments could start with this particular game. But if you see it there, right, I'd moved all those guys up. You just move that, get the rhino, grab the rhino, move that up about 10 inches. I've done it again. Force of habit. Like I said, is it about 4 inches for an obliterator? I can't actually remember. I've not got my codex on me. But you will need your codex box. You will need possibly some cards. There is cards down here, but I don't really know how they operate, if I'm honest. You see, we've got some sets. We've got some missions. And what would happen? Flip. I've got a funny feeling all these are in yeah, you'd have to show. I'm not doing that. I'm not shuffling them. That what I just did, by the way, was a flip. I need to get over deck. Oh god, I can't even get over deck. I wouldn't bother. I would just use your normal. If you've got some dice, use dice. If you've got cards, or maybe even just avoid those type of missions. I think narrative games would probably be best off being played on here. I do like the fact that you've got the rules and then you've got turn counters here. So you can, it's turn 1, it's turn 0. And then you've got command points, victory points. Although there's only, well, I'm saying that there's only about, there's not that many, but you can actually copy and paste more assets if you wanted to. And then what you can do is always delete them. If you think, right, okay, I've used it, just delete that. It'll be a really good resource to be able to test certain army types out. Or if you think, oh, is this going to be a good combination of things, as long as you can find the assets and someone willing to play against you, then you'd have no problems at all, to be honest. And then, like I say, if you decided, oh yeah, right, we're in a shooting phase, maybe from the front of that rhino, 17 inches to those guys. Just going to do an example of, I'm just going to have a go for myself, example of shooting. Oh, can he see? This is a benefit of this. You literally can see a model eye view. Yes, he can see those guys. A little bit skew width. But yeah, I definitely can. I actually think this will be quite fun. Especially as a put on. It's not going to be the greatest. But as a put on, this is definitely going to be a... I need that grab tool. It's definitely going to be a godsend. And if you don't mind, guys, I'm going to roll. I'm going to try. Oh, double 2. God damn it! Even in a digital world, I have no luck. Well, thanks very much, guys. Thanks for piquing your interest. I recommend you go and get it. I recommend you go and get it as soon as possible, because at the moment it's only £7. And you could probably play in some of your mates by next week, no problem. I would say even more so over the Sunday period if you can get it set up quickly enough. It didn't actually take me that long to get everything downloaded, and it didn't actually take me that long to actually get everything sorted. You're effectively not playing a first-person shooter game or a real-time strategy game. You are playing 40k with digital assets. You just need... The controls are odd, so you will need to get used to them, but once you've got used to them, then Bob's your uncle. And look, you just have stuff for the game. I'm not going to type anything. It'll be rude. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you next time.